like to talk to you about various aspects of Morley Town Hall. Morley Town Hall is a Grade 1 listed building. In October of this year, it will be 125 years old. And during that time, it served the town exceedingly well. From the point of view that it's helped to arrange the civic affairs of the society, to arrange for different amenities to be put in place, to arrange for events, and to be a meeting hall for Morley Town people. This was all something that had never existed before that time. What I want to do is to show you how it came into being and how it's developed with time. Because obviously things have changed, and therefore the functions of the town hall itself have also changed. So, in the 1860s, Morley got its first elected, what you might call town council. My goodness me, it was no easy matter, I can tell you, to get this, a lot of opposition. They built a kind of meeting hall on Queen Street, which is shown here. They can't have spent enough money on it because when there was the first bad weather, it got blown down. But on that site was built Linda's house, which is still there in Queen Street, and that was used as one of the meeting places for this local board. The local board did achieve quite a number of notable things during the time of its existence. Most notably, they introduced a water supply. Morley people have been getting water from wells. Terrible situation, but the local board in 1869 arranged to buy water from Leeds, which came from the Leeds system, which was pumped up Chilwell Hill, from that pumping station to a reservoir in Bruncliffe, quite close to where the cemetery and the schools are now. That made a huge difference to the health of the town and also to its industry, because mills now could get much more water than they had done previously. The result was that from 1869 up until the 1880s, the town grew in population and in industry, to such an extent that in 1885, Morley applied for borough status from the central government in London, and that was given on the last day of the year in 1885, and this charter signifies the permission for Morley to be a borough. That document is now on display within the town hall. One of the features you'll see on that document is a coat of arms, which was agreed upon with the authorities, and it's shown here in more detail, actually in the form of stained glass within the town hall itself. I'd like to point out various features which show how the town was at that particular time. And so here you have a sheep's head, and here a weaver's shuttle, and here is a cotton plant, which shows the kind of cloth that Morley was making, a kind of mixture between wool and rags and cotton, which was quite inexpensive, but very, very hard wiring, and therefore in the days before synthetic fibers, very, very popular. At that time too, there was a lot of mining within the town, both coal mining and quarrying, and these are shown by the pickaxe there. The motto was Industria Omnia Vincit, which is Latin for industry conquers all. And I like to think that what they mean by industry is the attitude to work rather than work itself. Just one other point, you can see here an helmet, but here are two cannonballs to say that during the Civil War in the 1640s, Morley, there were some really fierce fighting at Howley and also at Adwalton Moor. So there is the coat of arms for you. And here are some photographs to show the industry in Morley at that time. The textile industry was dominant. In 1900, there were over 40 mills within the town, large employers of females and also with men who supported with some of the work involving heavy lifting and also looking after the machines. In the coal mines, there were mines within the town, but a lot of men like these Chilwell miners also travelled outside the district to go to work in the mines. So this new borough council, they had their first meeting in April 1886, and they had it in Croft House on Church Street, the place where Herbert Henry Asquith had actually been born. Under the conditions of the borough, they were allowed to have a mayor, and here you see him. It's Alderman Joseph Schofield, who was, surprise, surprise, a mill owner. And many of these councillors here were, in fact, they were mill owners. Not all of them, but many of them were. Here you see the town clerk, Richard Burr Hopkins, who was a qualified solicitor and a great help in advising these mill owners in what could and could not be done to change the amenities within the town. At the original time, after Croft House, the council also meant Lyndhurst House, and you see it here on Queen Street. This is what used to be the Fullerton's bread shop, and here is the entrance to Little Lane. Yeah, well, that wasn't too good, was it? And Charlie Scarth, who was a big power within the council at that time, and certainly the biggest textile magnate in town, kept pestering. He said, we need a town hall. We really, really do, to show people that the town is going places. There were other factors. People wanted other amenities like a park and also another better water supply. But finally, Charlie Scarth got his way. And in 1889, the council agreed to build the town hall. The way that they did it, they told local architects, we want to build a town hall in Morley. Please submit your plans for it. We've got our own ideas, but we want you to put your ideas forward. And this is a competition. The winner will actually help to put the town hall together. This is one of the designs that was offered, and they didn't really go for that, although it is thought that it won the second prize. But this one was the design which won. It was made by Dewsbury architects called Holton and Fox. And that was accepted, and they were awarded the prize of £100. No small amount of money in those days besides the job, and also because he made a good job of it, and they got further work within the town later. This is a depiction of Queen Street in 1887, before the town hall was built, and it gives you some idea of what the town looked like at that time and where it was decided to build the town hall. Of course, there's a massive change in Queen Street these days, but that bank building there is now, there are bank buildings opposite the town hall, and this is the one that's equivalent to the present HSBC Bank. This junction here is the junction, present junction between Albion Street and Queen Street. And that is a mill on the corner of Wesley Street. Hope Foundry here is on the site of where the Wilko's market is at the present moment. So the town hall was built here. It's a bit of an open space there, but they also had to get, well, they more or less told two cottagers, I'm sorry, but your cottagers will have to come down. We're going to build a town hall there. And so the work commenced in 1890. And you can see here the foundation stone. They were able to put it up 2 years later. There it is, a granite block on the corner of the present building. And you can see here is the mayor with the block. In fact, it's probably quite appropriate that Thomas Clough, the mayor, was indeed himself a quarry owner. And so, if I can show you, the town hall itself was made out of Morley stone. And let me show you about this. If you can imagine, that is an aerial view in the 1920s. There is the town hall, and there is Albion Street. That's where the present Barclays Bank is. But if we come over here, there is a quarry where the present sports centre is, just off Queensway. And some of the stone within that quarry was used to make the Morley Town Hall. And of course, this is another quarry within the Morley area, which also provided stone for the town hall. Building was slow by present standards, but in early 1885, Sam Rhodes, who was the mayor of Morley 4 times and must have been pretty fit in those days, somehow or other got up to the partially built tower up to there, and he managed to put that top stone in place. The clock wasn't there at that time, but when the stonework was complete, work began on the clock, and by April 1895, it was completed. For many years, it was known as the Sam Rhodes Clock. The tower itself is 160 feet high, thankfully just a little bit less than the Leeds Town Hall Tower, which is 225 feet high, but nevertheless it can be seen from many points in Morley. And at a time when a lot of Morley people didn't have a timepiece, they could see the town from a distance and also hear the chimes, which gave a good indication of which part of the hour it was. Here is the pediment at the front of the town hall, and I want to show you another feature of that. You can see here that these figures here have got a certain kind of emblem significance. The one in the middle here is Justice, and I don't know if that's clear, but she is actually blindfolded. And here on the right-hand side, art, sculpture, and drama. Oh gosh, righto, let's put the arts on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, we've got industry, science, and commerce. And what a lot of Morley people don't know is that here is a depiction of a train coming from a tunnel, and that is actually supposed to indicate Morley Tunnel, which was erected in 1848 and which made a huge difference to the town's prosperity. The for the opening, they decided to invite the up-and-coming Liberal politician Herbert Henry Asquith. The definite reason for this was that Herbert Henry had actually been born in Morley, in Croft House, Church Street, in 1852. And so it seemed highly appropriate to invite this important public figure who everybody in Morley knew about him, of course, because Morley was a Liberal stronghold in those days, and they invited him along to open it in 1895, the 16th of October. And here you see him on the Town Hall steps doing the official opening with the mayor, Charles Scarth, and here's Richard Burrow Hopkins. He came along with his wife. I'm not sure which this is. It is which is she. It was his second wife, and for the moment I've gone and forgotten her name. Margot, indeed, yes, because there's a root story associated with the name, which I won't go into now. I'm not sure which of these ladies is Margot. That is Jessie Scarth, who was the mayoress. The reason why I mention this is that after the opening, there was a reception in the town hall, and I have never seen anything like it in all my life. Look at the number of courses here, and with each course there was an alcoholic drink. In Morley, the nonconformist stronghold, and here you see all the various toasts that were done at that reception dinner. I have to say to you that Margot Asquith commented on the reception afterwards. Both she and Herbert Henry did like their food and drink, but it was too much for them, and she felt rather ill afterwards and never came back to Morley again, which was a bit of a downer, really. But anyway, never mind that. Let's go on to some features of the new town hall and show you what it had to offer the people of Morley at that time. First of all, a big meeting hall. Here, it's got a similar kind of design these days, but in the original design, it had a seating capacity of 1,200 people. I think that Victorians probably were a lot smaller than we are. A lot of these seats in the balcony are the original seats, and they are just a wee bit cramped. But now the seating capacity has been lowered to 600. It was possible to have meetings here and also to put on dramatic presentations. For your interest, in the original hall, there were these three effigies here behind the stage for faith, hope, and charity. The three virtues talked about by St. Paul in the Epistle to the Corinthians. Okay, the council chamber, this is the original council chamber when it was just dealing with Morley people. The mayor would sit in that chair with aldermen at his side, the town clerk here, and councillors here. That did expand later when Morley took in Ardsley, the Ardsleys, Churwell and Driglington, and became much bigger. But the original layout for the mayor and the aldermans and the town clerk remained the same. This is an early view of the mayor's parlour. The fireplace, the cabinet, the doors, the tables, they remain the same, but now, of course, there are photographs all over the walls. It was a well-used office, and of course, this coal fire was definitely in operation in winter. One thing that Morley had missing was that before the town hall, there was a second-rate police station on Oddfellow Street, and in the new town hall, the police station was incorporated within the town hall. If you imagine in this design here, that is Wellington Street and that is Queen Street, then the entrance to the police station was here. In the basement, as I think I can show you again, were some cells. These were short stay cells. If someone had been misbehaving, on a Saturday night or something like that, they would be put in the cells to cool off. Morley did have around about 40 police at that particular time, controlled by Inspector Hutchinson, and there was no messing about. If somebody gave the police some lip, they could end up in there without any trouble. And in particular, the town also had a magistrate's court. The thing being that the magistrate's court was held on a Monday, and here you see is where the chief magistrate and his assistants sat, and here a person who the case was being presented about would stand here. And if you can imagine, there were steps down here to a passageway to the cells. So a prisoner coming from the cells would come up those steps, and the first thing he would see would be the beak in front of him. And here you can see that is the witness stand. I can tell you that when we do town hall tours, the school kids absolutely adore visiting the cells and the magistrate's court. Now to look at some stained glass within the town hall. This is the original photograph within the town hall, and you can see that on the first floor the windows are plain. The view of the balcony with its mosaic, that hadn't changed much, but by the 1920s there was stained glass in these windows, which had actually been put in December 1902. This is the first floor windows shown in colour. It's rather difficult to get photographs of them in this way, but I will go on to the individual windows in more detail. These show the windows on the ground floor looking down from the staircase. Originally, there were 13 windows put in by individuals, and each individual expressed an interest or something that appealed to them and dedicated the window to that interest or some human feeling. Right, if we come to the first window that one comes across when you enter the town hall from Windsor Court, it's this particular window here, which was dedicated by the architect, Mr. G.A. Fox. And look at all the windows have the same features, so that his initials here are given, G.A.F. And here you see is properly enough, he's dedicated the window to Architectura, the Latin for architecture, presented by G.A. Fox, architect. The windows cost £25 each. They were designed in London and made in Leeds. On the first floor, the central window is the one presented by Charlie Scarth. And again, we'll go into it and look at it in detail. There is his initials CS and Industria and industry. So as I said, he was a textile magnate, the biggest in town, but I think he did care for how the work was done, and he was also something of the biggest philanthropist in the town. And you can see he was the mayor at the time that the town hall was opened, and the mayor 6 times in total. This window here was presented by William Middlebrook, a solicitor. There are his initials, Justice, and you can see here that Justice is blind, which I had a little bit of difficulty in figuring that one out, but it's supposed to mean that Justice is even-handed, prepared to hear both sides of the story. And you can see that he was the mayor in 1896-97. But he was also the Lord Mayor of Leeds, and you can see him here in a painting which is in the present mayor's parlour when he was wearing the robes of the the Lord Mayor of Leeds. He was knighted in 1912 when he was the Liberal MP for South Leeds, appropriately by the Asquith government, which was in power at that time. And I should say that at the same time, Charlie Scarth also received a knighthood from the Asquith government. Okay, so now come on to various events in the building's history. And we see that in the 24th of July 1913, Prime Minister Asquith returned to the town. He became Prime Minister in 1908, which absolutely delighted the townsfolk. And in 1913, he agreed to come back and accept the freedom of the borough, which in those days was in the form of an appropriately designed silver casket. We don't know what's become of the Asquith silver casket, but as you'll see later, we do have records of other caskets which were given out by the borough. And you can see here is the Prime Minister coming down the town hall steps after the ceremony with his daughter, Lady Violet, who later became Violet Bonham Carter and a prominent Liberal politician in her own right. And here's the Mayor, Mayor Ingle. They went down to Cherwell to Mayor Ingle's house, now sadly demolished, but they had this huge garden party where the local bigwigs were all invited. And sadly, there was a large police presence outside because it was thought that the suffragettes were going to have a go at Henry Asquith due to his opposition to suffragism. That did not happen, fortunately, and it was a peaceful time. Right, there are 3 stained glass windows in the Alexandra Hall, which were put in at a later time. This middle one in 1922, and the ones on either side in October 1949. Again, difficult to get good photos from this view, but we'll look at them in more detail. The middle one was presented in 1922 in memory of the long-serving councillor, Alderman J.T. Horsfall. And there's a photograph of him. And let's look into this in more detail. Again, there are his initials. He was a millman, and this is depicting the growth of the Morley textile trade between its beginnings when the crank mill was built in 1779. The first steam-powered textile mill in Morley. And it grew and grew and grew to get big mills such as the Gilroyd, which by that time was employing over 800 people. A belief in progress, as shown by the town hall, and also the fact that the nonconformist religion at that time was hugely influential in Morley and had been from the 15th, 16th century. We can see some photographs which show that more clearly. That's Mr. Alderman Horsfall's original mill on Church Street, which sadly got burnt down in 1950. But the war memorial for the 5 men who died during the Great War, who worked at his mill, that's still preserved outside in Church Street. This is a photograph of the Morley Old Chapel, which was built around about the 16th century and was greatly used and a really important part of Morley social life up until the 19th century. It was demolished in the 1870s to make way for the St Mary's in the Wood Chapel, and a lot of valuable artifacts were destroyed when that was demolished. Sadly, as you know, the St Mary's in the Wood Chapel ceased for worship in 1907, but just a few years later, somehow or other it caught fire and was demolished, and there again important parts of Morley's past were destroyed with it, and sadly the site is in a bit of a mess at the moment. Okay, the window on the left-hand side is in memory of Alderman Thomas Arthur Marshall, who was the mayor twice, 1927-28 and 28-29. And this is showing him as mayor. Here's the window, his initials there. Scarborough was one of his favourite places, as was the Lake District. I'm not too sure what that means. It seems to depend upon individual choice. I think it indicates that he also adhered to the Christian faith. Here shows some of his activities. During the Great War, a lot of the Morley policemen were called up into the forces, and a special constabulary was formed, and he was one of the members of that. When he was the mayor in 1928, he also officiated the opening of the tennis courts in Chilwell Park, which are still existent and which have been donated by the local manufacturer, Mr. Engel. The window on the right-hand side is in memory of Alderman Brian Bradley Barker. You can see his photograph here on the right-hand side with his Freedom Casket, which was presented to him in 1934 with his son, James, and also his grandson, Brian Brains. And all those three were eventually mayors of the borough of Morley, which I think is rather a unique distinction. Again, let's zoom into it. His initials there. His favourite places were Harrogate and Bridlington. Down here, you see his Freedom Casket. He was the mayor 4 times. And here you see a depiction for an organisation of treasurers and accountants. Well, when Brian Bradley was on the town council for many years, he was the head of the finance committee, and he was known as Morley's Chancellor of the Exchequer. So that's the reason behind that. And here's some of his activities. Sadly, there were rather a lot of mill fires in Morley, and he was instrumental in dealing with the financial side of dealing with that. And here he is also one of the upgrades to the Morley Fire Service, the Morley Merryweather fire engine. And here, the last time when he was mayor in December 1936, on the town hall steps, announcing the accession of King George VI, who had succeeded his brother, Edward VIII, who'd abdicated in order that he could marry the divorcee, Mrs. Simpson. In 1928, Herbert Henry Asquith died. Sadly, his career had foundered in the after the Great War in the 1920s, but he was still greatly remembered and admired by the Morley people, and it was decided to put up a memorial for him in the basement of the town hall. And you can see it there in some detail. There is a bust of the man. On that side is his biography, and on this side is an extract from one of his speeches telling of his belief. That was designed by a man called Fehr, F-E-H-R, who was actually responsible for designing the War Memorial in Leeds. And you can see the opening here in October 1928 by Sir William Middlebrook. Thomas Arthur Marshall was the mayor of Morley, and that's the Lord Mayor of Leeds, who also came along for the occasion. During the Second World War, an air raid siren was put in place in the tower. It was not really ever used properly in anger. There were 3 occasions where German bombers caused some trouble in the town, but nothing really very, very serious, except on one occasion when some bombs caused damage on Homefield Avenue. But the town hall was a focus point for actually gendering public spirit and actually raising money for the war effort. You can see one of them here with the Mayor David Dickinson, and these occasions actually raised well over £1 million, a lot of money in those days. And I should say, actually, that somebody tried to buy the air raid siren recently, but the town council told him no. There you go. As we know, the war ended on the 15th of August 1945 with VJ Day, and there were celebrations in the town for that. But there were also some bigger celebrations on the 8th of September 1945 with the town hall as the focal point. You can see the town hall steps there. I think if we zoom into it, you can see the mayor, Alderman Roberts, and there's his daughter, his beautiful daughter, Jeannie, whose husband had actually been killed in the war. But what they're doing is honouring the West Yorkshire Regiment. And actually, there was a parade past this dial here by the regiment to signify that freedom process. And Queen Street, as you can imagine, was absolutely packed and jammed. In 28th of October 1954, the Queen was the new Queen. She'd come to the throne in 1952 on the death of her father. But in 1954, she did a tour of the northern towns, and Morley was one of them. You can see here arriving at the town hall with the mayor, Alderman Rhodes. There's his daughter his sister Alice, with the Duke of Edinburgh, and the town clerk, Councillor Finnegan. And you can see a special dais was put up on the front of the town hall. There's the Queen and the dignitaries. And look at those massive crowds there on the balconies of the banks and where have you. And the school children were given the day off, and we all gathered round and cheered as the Queen's motorcade went past. The Queen was introduced on that dais to various town people, town dignitaries certainly, but also some schoolboy and a schoolgirl, and this lady, Emma Varley, who was still a weaver at the Crank Mill, which was still operational at that time. Here you see the royal couple being presented to Clara Hepworth, who's wearing a Girl Guides uniform. In fact, just a few years later, 3 years later, Clara became the first female mayor of Morley, and she's the only female to be awarded the Freedom of the Borough. Disaster struck on the 18th of August 1961, which was Morley Feast Week, when many Morley people were on holiday. And on holiday on their hotel screens, many of them would have seen photographs of the town hall tower burning. Wow. What had actually happened was that in those days there was a mill, can you believe it, in Wellington Street. If you imagine here, this is back Wellington Street, and here is where the Morrison supermarket is nowadays. But there was the mill. Some rags caught fire. The sparks came over from the fire and caught the dome of the town hall and set it on fire. The trouble is, as I said, it's 160 feet high, and the firemen couldn't get enough water pressure to actually put it on that dome. They were able to saturate this area here, and it's a darn good job they did, because the bells, which were very, very heavy, remained stable. But quite a lot of damage was done to the top of the tower, as you can see from this photograph, a series of photographs taken by local pharmacist and superb photographer Bobby Cooper. The town hall dome was completely and utterly destroyed. And just take into account these buildings here, which later did change. That is the old post office there, which later on was changed to one at the far end of Queen Street. And here you see Bobby Cooper's depiction of the mill fire itself. The aftermath was a dreadful mess. The mill building were completely and utterly destroyed. But because of the efforts of the fire people, the main damage to the town hall was the dome. In fact, inside the building, little damage had been done. One of the officials burnt his hands in shifting some documents down to the safe and couldn't play golf for a couple of weeks, but that was round about it. The courtrooms here, and on the Monday following the Friday of the fire, it was possible for some court proceedings to carry on. In fact, Morley Town Council said we must have our town hall looking as it used to do, and very, very quickly a design was based on the original was concocted by an organisation in Nottingham, and it was put up very, very quickly so that it was completed by 1962. But what was going to happen to all this space behind the town hall? And they couldn't make their mind up. You can see there's the nice tower, but there's this great big empty gap where the old mills were. Nobody could decide what to do. And that remained for another few years. And then in 1972 time, Ken Morrison came along and said, I'd like to build a supermarket behind the town hall. And yeah, there were some small supermarkets in the town already, but Ken Morrison was given permission to build his supermarket there. And what do you know? He also built a car park there as well. So it knocked all the other supermarkets in town out of business pretty darn quickly. And okay, at the same time, it was decided to renovate the area where Albion Street had been at the side of the town hall and build this precinct where there were some shops up here, and that, of course, is the supermarket. So a lot of changes around the town hall caused by this fire. But in 1974, Morley became a part of Leeds. I have to say, and I don't want to stir things up, but Morley people didn't really want to become a part of Leeds, but they didn't have much choice in the matter. It was dictated to them by central government in London. The mayor of Morley at that time showed his distaste by sending out that particular Christmas card for his last Christmas card in December 1973. And you can see here on the last day of the borough of Morley, there's Alderman Binks with the council at that time. And there's a march past by the West Yorkshire Regiment, which had been given the freedom of the borough at the end of the Second World War. So there we go. Morley became a part of Leeds. The administration of the town was done to a large extent by Leeds officials. You can see here that the courtroom still existed, but in 1997, the Blair government decided as a cost-saving measure that it should be closed down and the magistrates should be moved to Leeds. Oh dear. But that's what happened. I should say, in fact, that the courtroom still exists. It is used by television companies when they want to do presentations involving the court scene, and also the police do use it for training young police people on how to deal with court procedure. Right, well, it's all very well, but Morley people wanted more of a say in their town affairs, and in 2000 it managed to get a town council. And you can see here there's a depiction of the first town council, and there's the first mayor, Councillor Frank Tye. And you can see some of these people are still serving on the council, or they've only just left it. In May 2009, Judith Elliott, who at that time was a councillor on the Leeds Central Council, representing the Morley Borough Independents, was also elected to become the Lord Mayor of Leeds. So the second Morley Mayor to achieve that distinction, and well deserved. She's really given the town a lot of time and valuable effort. So let's come on to the final part of the talk, and that's the present uses of the town hall. And you can see that the town council does meet when allowed within the present council chamber to get together ideas for amenities that they would like to introduce. They do have some funding. Clearly, they don't have the powers of the original borough council, but still they have had some really good ideas which have improved the town. You can see that within the Alexandra Hall, concerts are a regular feature, brass band concerts in particular, and also these pop concerts where there are things remembering people like David Bowie and Elvis Presley. There have been numerous events within the town hall, which are commemorations. Here we see school children commemorating the life of the Batley MP, Joe Cox, who was brutally murdered by some crazy man in Birstall. And that was actually a big depiction in her memory. And here the Diamond Jubilee of Her Majesty the Queen was also celebrated. The town council did help Morley Community Archives and other groups to do a massive Great War project which extended from 2014 to 2018 with events dotted over that time, and the town hall as a central point of these events. And so here there was at the beginning of 2014 a big and very well attended roadshow with the Mayor Tom Ledley there. Here, a memorial garden for the casualties on the Somme with Julie Healy, who played a big part in the occasion. And here, at the end of the war, Julie again with this massive array of poppies to commemorate the 454 Morley men who were killed during that dreadful conflict. Morley Amateur Dramatic Society do give entertainments here. I particularly remember the Fiddler on the Roof occasion, which was magnificent, but these are very, very well attended and very, very well done. There is an annual arts festival which centres around the town hall. There are events at other areas, but here it shows 3 of the events which took place in 2019 within the town hall itself. There are annual parades which take place with the town hall as the central point. In particular, the St George's Day parade is shown here when the mayor was Councillor Bradley, and every day on Commemoration Day, November the 11th, or the nearest Sunday to it, there is also a parade past the town hall. Right, and so we come to a new idea which has been instituted by the present council and the mayor, Andrew Hutchinson, the mayoress Rachel Kennedy, where the idea is to set up memorabilia within the town hall to give some idea of its heritage. And this is one such occasion. There have been others recently where Nina Graham, Sam Rhodes, the aforementioned Sam Rhodes, presented Sam Rhodes' Freedom Casket and his Freedom Scroll. And you can see here Nina with Andrew Hutchinson. So I hope that that will continue, and that the town hall will continue to give very, very valued and important service to the town of Morley. Before I close, Here are some acknowledgements, a lot of photos from David Atkinson's collection, which Leeds Libraries let us use. Morley Community Archives have got their own store of photographs. And yes, I have done some internet downloads, and I hope the people concerned are not going to complain. So thank you for listening.